Welcome to In the Wild. In 2001, 60-year-old stockman John Chaney, traveling through a remote region near the town of Halls Creek in Western Australia's East Kimberley region, not far from routes that stretched toward the vast Tanami Desert. This was not unfamiliar territory to him. John had spent most of his life working cattle across long distances, enduring heat, isolation, and weeks at a time far from towns or paved roads. The outback was not a mystery to him, it was his workplace. But even for someone with decades of experience, the desert offers no guarantee. At some point along an isolated track, John's vehicle broke down. The track was not a road in the usual sense, but a rough route used mainly by pastoral workers and four-wheel drive vehicles. Traffic was rare, and help was never close. Believing assistance was within reach, John decided to walk. He had completed difficult journeys before and trusted his understanding of distance and terrain. What he did not realize was how far he truly was from help, and how quickly the landscape could erase any sense of direction. John left his vehicle and set out on foot without a map, without a GPS, and without a dependable water supply. He did not leave word of where he was heading, and because he was traveling alone and off regular routes, his absence was not immediately noticed. When he failed to arrive anywhere, no search began during the early days of his ordeal. No one yet knew he was missing. The surrounding country is among the most unforgiving environments in Australia. During the hotter months, daytime temperatures often climb above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Shade is scarce, and the sun dominates the open land from morning until evening. Water sources are unreliable and frequently dry for long stretches. Creek beds that appear promising can run for miles without holding a single drinkable drop. For someone on foot, the land offers very little mercy. Before long, John realized he was lost. The flatness of the terrain made distances difficult to judge, and the lack of clear landmarks caused him to unknowingly circle through areas he had already crossed. Every step demanded energy, and every wrong decision reduced his chances. Survival became a daily calculation. How far could he walk before the heat became dangerous? When should he rest? Where might water exist? Should he continue forward or conserve what little strength remained? He followed dry creek beds, knowing they offered the best possibility of moisture. He studied animal tracks carefully, understanding that wildlife sometimes leads toward water. When he did find moisture, it was rarely clean. Sometimes it was muddy seepage beneath damp soil. Other times, it was stagnant water left behind after earlier rains. Despite the risks, he drank what he could. Dehydration posed a greater threat. As the days passed and water became harder to find, desperation grew. John dug into damp ground and squeezed moisture from the soil whenever possible. In moments of extreme need, he even extracted small amounts of moisture from fresh cattle dung, a survival measure born purely from necessity. These efforts provided only minimal relief, but minimal relief was enough to keep him alive. Food was just as scarce. John survived on whatever the land offered, eating ants and beetles when he encountered them. He dug beneath dry creek beds to uncover small frogs, which provided brief nourishment. Many days, he found nothing at all. Hunger became constant. His body weakened as weight dropped rapidly and fatigue deepened until even standing required effort. The desert took a severe physical toll. The sun blistered his skin, leaving painful burns that worsened with continued exposure. His feet swelled and split. making each step slow and painful. Dehydration affected his thinking, bringing periods of confusion and disorientation. Still, John continued moving. He believed that stopping meant death, and that as long as he could walk, there remained a chance of survival. Days blurred together. Without a clear sense of time, he measured survival in sunrises and sunsets. Each new day alive became its own victory. He walked when he could and rested when exhaustion forced him to stop, always pushing himself to stand again. The landscape seemed endless, and rescue felt increasingly unlikely. After 55 days alone, weak, emaciated, and barely able to walk, John reached an area near Sturt Creek, close to a remote cattle station. By then, he was scarcely recognizable. His clothes hung loosely from his frame, his skin severely burned and damaged, and he struggled to speak or move. He was spotted by musterer Mark Clifford, who at first barely recognized the approaching figure as a person. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Mark quickly arranged for help. John was airlifted to a hospital in Western Australia for urgent medical treatment. Doctors described his condition as critical. He was suffering from extreme dehydration, severe malnutrition, and advanced exposure that placed his life at immediate risk. Medical staff later stated that surviving so long under those conditions was extraordinary. Recovery was slow, requiring weeks of care as his body gradually healed from starvation and prolonged exposure. The experience left lasting effects, but he survived. John Chaney did not seek recognition for what he endured. He did not describe his survival as a battle against nature or a test of endurance. When asked how he managed to stay alive, his answer was simple. He kept going. Because in the outback, stopping is often the difference between life and death.